Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the wonderful world of vintage toy collecting. It's my toy trove. What are we looking at today? We're looking at this translucent attaché case of figures. Look at this. Welcome to my nightmare. The other side. This is Disney. This side is mostly Disney. Marx, Disneykins, and some weird knockoff stuff. But we're not going to look at this. There's a green chicken. We're here to look at this. We wanted to look at these Marx Warriors of the World figures. I mentioned these in that other video, and I thought we would take a look at some of these since there's a lot of Western ones in this case that I don't think we've looked at before on video. Drink of my water, excuse me. These are Marx Warriors of the World figures. They came in a little box. The box itself is about the size of these little cubicles that I have them in. Inside the box with the figures, it came with a little card, like this guy. This guy's name is Jack Straight. We saw him before, earlier, in the Marx Western figure 1950s video. This is the guy that couldn't stand up. Remember? He kept falling over. Let's find him. He's right here. So they made the same figure as that one that we looked at earlier that was made of vinyl. He wouldn't stand up. So, and I think this started in Warriors of the World, I think started in 58. I might be wrong. It might have been a little later. It might have been 1960 that they started. But so they took those same molds from those earlier Marx figures. They took them, they duplicated them, I guess, and they took them to Hong Kong. The Marx factory in Hong Kong then began manufacturing these figures out of the same molds, but they're made of a hard plastic. Listen, very hard plastic. It's solid. Some of them are made in Europe, like some are Hong Kong and some are Belgium, some are Germany. You have to look really closely. I have ones from all over the world, or from those three places, I think. Not all over the world, just from what I just said. I think Belgium, Germany, no, Holland. I think it's Holland. It's Holland, Germany, and Hong Kong. This guy stands up. His name is Jack Straight. So on the back of the card, for every one of these figures that this was an idea. This was a marketing idea that Marx had that was rather ingenious. So they took they took toys that they already had the ability of making, and they kept making them, but they used new materials. They had them hand painted by these presumably, I'm going to assume mostly women at a factory in Hong Kong that were like toy artists that did this. Look at all the work that was involved in just one of these. This is all brush work that somebody in China had to do in like 1958. Very nice. So then they had some artists come up with this. They made a drawing just like the figure on a card. And then they had somebody in the creative department make up a story about this guy, give him a name and give him a whole story about how Dodge City and Abilene and the rumor that he was an ex-gunslinger like Johnny Ringo trying to go straight, but nobody ever proved it. So, and this came in a little box. Had a picture of him on the outside of it. It said Jack Straight. It said Marx Warriors of the World. It wasn't just cowboys. It was everything you could think of. We'll get to more of them. I have lots more. And this is just the ones that are in this box with these cards. I have another container full of a bunch more. And then there's a previous video that I made explaining a lot of the differences between them if you're interested. I love these little guys. So what they did is they took a figure that was just included in a set that they used to sell for, that was, selling for whatever for, 8 cents a piece or something when you did the math. But now they put it in a box, they add all this stuff to it, so now they can up the price and they can sell this thing alone for, I don't know, what was it, 20 cents, maybe 25 cents, 15 cents? I don't know, just one of them, because this became a special thing. Because now a kid's trying to collect them all. They come with a card, right? See what Marx was doing at the very beginning? He's thinking of these marketing ideas. Now it's a special thing. Now it's like the Indian in the cupboard. That's what these figures always remind me of, because they have backstories. Now I have kids, I grew up, I raised my kids. We watched that movie, The Indian in the Cupboard, and my son read the book, and we were really into it. It's a great story, and it's a story about this. The figures that are in that story look like these. They look like they're based on what we're going to be looking at. So that's Jack Straight. Oops, sorry about that, Jack. Let's see what some of the other cards are, and we'll try and find some. So this is just a brief overview of Warriors of the World. Maybe you already know what these are. This is a difficult figure to find complete and not broken. This Mike Nichols, where he's roping himself. Can you believe they made a figure like this? Here he is. Mine is almost complete. Isn't that amazing? It's just a little bit snapped off right there at the rope. Let's pull this guy out. So now it's special. Now it's like Matchbox cars. What else is like this? Where you're saving, they're numbered, and you're saving the box or something, or you should have been saving the box, like with Matchbox cars. But a lot of kids weren't. Mike Nichols. He's a guy that's got a rope around himself. He's doing a roping trick. He was Foster's sidekick on the long drive up from San Antonio. Can you believe? Isn't this cool? So imagine being 10 and getting one of these. So to me, these are special. This would have been something, I think, that would have been special. We should set these guys up. But you really need to see the container, don't you? I mean, how about we go like this? Stand him right there. There's Mike Nichols. Here's Jack Straight. Sorry about that, Jack. You guys can kind of see him there, right? Mike Nichols and Jack Straight. And yeah, I keep these guys in bags because they have like 70-year-old paint on them, and they're made of 70-year-old plastic. I know, it's funny. And I wish I still had the boxes for all these. W.B. Foster, he's got a whip. And another one, I mean, this is relatively impossible figure to find intact with this little plastic whip connected to it. But we have him right here, and his hand is broken off and there's no whip. But I might repair him sometime in the future, because I'm not necessarily a purist, not necessarily, and I'm a guy that if this figure came along, if a W.B. Foster figure showed up on my doorstep, or it approached me and it was intact with the whip and it was at a reasonable, affordable price, sure, I'd buy it. But in the meantime, I'm fine with the one that I have, and maybe someday I might adapt it and switch it around and change it somehow, because I've been known to do that. It's possible that we might run into a figure or two that I've done that to that's here, or that you might see it in some of my other videos. I do things like I replace weapons, I fix broken parts, I put guns where they didn't used to be, that sort of thing. Who are we looking for? Flip Marbles is one of my favorite figures. There he is. Okay, this is a perfect example. Wow, I can't believe we just talked about that. And then Flip Marbles shows up and he's the next figure, because this is a figure that I did that exact same thing to. And I did it because it's one of my favorite figures. Even though he came to me broken, missing his entire left arm. It was snapped off. But because of the card and because of the name, because his name is Flip Marbles, and because his face looks like this. Look at his face. Look at his camo. He's got camo painted on his helmet and painted on. He's got like an unhappy smiley face painted onto his back, unironically. His name is Flip Marbles. And he's a courier. Yeah, he's a courier. It tells his whole story here. Oh, also, his arm was blown off when I got him. So I took an arm from some contemporary recast figure and I cut it off with like an X-Acto knife or a parts snip, maybe some parts snips or something, and I snipped it off. Then I just glued it on there, but I put it in a different position. I decided I wanted it in a different position. I like it like this more. I like how Flip looks like this more. It's a whole new Flip Marbles. This is a card that we're going to read the entire Flip Marbles story because it's so remarkable. When Flip Marbles joined the army, he thought he would win glory as a combat soldier. Well, he did. But he first thought his job of carrying radio equipment and ammunition was tame. He found it wasn't when he started dodging bullets and saw mortars explode around him as he supplied the troops and kept them in communication with each other. He was wounded at Salerno and won the Purple Heart. Maybe he wasn't a courier. His job was carrying radio equipment and ammunition. He got a Purple Heart in Salerno. I thought he was a courier. Well, it says kept them in communication with each other. I guess this is supposed to be a piece of radio equipment? It is. No, it's 50. Look at this. Marx is something else, aren't they? I never even noticed this before. This is freaking amazing. So cool. Such a cool toy. Look. Can you see this? It says 50 cal. This is a box of 50 caliber ammunition. It only says 50 cal on the front. Look at that. It says 50 cal right there, doesn't it? Or does it say 30? Looks 50. It says 50 cal. All right, so he's carrying a box of 50 cal. That's why he's carrying it so low, and that's why he looks so pissed off. Old Flip Marbles. He got his arm blown off in Salerno. Got the Purple Heart, but then he got back to Walter Reed, and they gave him one of these new arms. One of those prosthetic limbs. Looks really good. Looks good. You did a good job, Flip. I approve. You're my favorite figure out of the bunch. Next, Dan Warner. This is a nice figure. It's a very kind of a straightforward, boring kind of name. Like when I was a kid, I wished that I had a normal name. I wished I had a name like Dan Warner. A name that nobody could make fun of. A name that no one would pay attention to. They would never remember you because your name was so boring. Wow. Look, this figure is wow. I think I repaired it. I almost said, look at this figure as well. Look at how it's so old. It's 70 years old. And look at the barrel on that Thompson submachine gun is still there. Well, it's not. I glued it on there. It's a new barrel that it's a piece of something. It's a piece of like black plastic wire or something. Some sort of, see, it's something. I glued it onto the front. It was broken off. But if you're not paying attention, it looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? So these are hard plastic. Remember? They just break super easy. This is like, I think this is polypropylene. I think this is really close, or this type of plastic, this solid, hard plastic. This is very close to the same plastic that model kits were made out of, or that are made out of. The same, but it's denser. So it's the same brittle, hard plastic that a model kit is made of, but instead of it being thin like in a model kit or a sheet of it, this is a block of it, a chunk of it, big pieces of it. So it's a little bit heavy. Cool, huh? Dan Warner, kind of a little boring, but a great figure. He's in action. I don't remember what happened to Dan. It's something cool. He was born in Nebraska. He was one of the toughest soldiers in General Patton's outfit. Twice wounded, twice captured, twice escaped, and twice returned to action. This young man brought glory to himself and his country. We should be reading the back of all of these. These are amazing, and in a way they're kind of hilarious because they're being written by people in the Marx Toys creative department, and they're not only thinking about entertaining the children that are purchasing the toys, they're entertaining themselves while they're writing this stuff, I think. Isn't that obvious? It's kind of like when you read comic books, the old comic books. You can tell that you can glean a little information of who's making this stuff. This is Richard Golden. This is the Courier. All right, so I had this mixed up. Flip Marbles. the guy that I claimed to be my favorite warrior of the world, supposedly, that I know so much about, and that I replaced his arm that was blown off in Salerno with a prosthetic limb, I had him mixed up with a guy from a completely different war, from like 100 years earlier, and or not maybe 80 years ago prior. This guy Richard Golden, he's a courier for the Union Army, and his job is to carry these secret documents, and he's got a chin strap beard. Look at that. I don't know if that's a chin strap beard or if it's an actual chin strap. I'm not sure. I think it might be an actual chin strap. Richard Golden was a soldier from Philadelphia. He joined the Union Army in 1862 because he believed that there should be no slavery in America. I did a whole video about this because I have another copy of this figure in the box, in the original box. I have a couple of these Warriors of the World figures that are still in their original boxes. And Richard Golden is one of them. This is just a loose one that I have. G. Mark Stone. Now, I'm not sure if any of these are actual real people. I believe I looked up Richard Golden and he was a real person. I don't know about this G. Mark Stone. I can't remember whether I looked him up or not. He could be a real Civil War general or Civil War officer. He appears to be from the Confederacy. Very nice. Wow, that's a very... All right, so this is precarious. This could have easily been snapped and broken, and it was. See? Look at it move. Can you see that? Can you see the crack in it? Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in? Let's look at General Mark Stone. I really like the paint apps on his face. I love the little black dots for eyes. This guy's cool. I love those gloves. The colors aren't always matching, but obviously this is that figure. This is the figure that came with this card. It's George Mark Stone. He's a Confederate officer from Georgia. He led many a charge at the Battle of Gettysburg, and even after Lee admitted defeat, saying, "Now let us save what we can." George Mark Stone wanted to fight on. Badly wounded, the battle clearly lost, he personally still led his small group of men forward. They all died. Some say George Mark Stone was mad. Others said he was the bravest of men. Oh my gosh, this stuff is great. These are possibly some of the coolest toys ever created by some of the funniest people that ever worked in the toy industry, in my opinion. Creative funny, smart funny, interesting funny. Just, this is fun. Don't you think this is fun? I think it's fun. It's very interesting and strange that this was a thing. But like I said, this is like that, if you don't know what Indian in the cupboard is, it's what we're doing right here. It's the idea was that all of your army men were individual people that had backstories and histories and personalities. They were real people. Maybe they were trapped in a world of being a plastic army man or something, or maybe a pirate, like Captain Cobham. Captain Cobham is his name. And his sword is broken. And I got to be more conscious because I could have, it's possible that, so it looks like I haven't fixed this guy, but this is the type of figure that I would have fixed. If I had found the right piece of plastic, I might glue something on there. Really nice paint. That's one of the ways that you can tell the difference between the factories. So the Hong Kong factory used this really glossy enamel paint that you've been looking at on mostly everything. I haven't noticed if we've seen any of the German or Holland stuff. So the stuff from Holland and the stuff from Germany are dull, flat paints. They don't have this shiny gloss to them. So this shiny gloss tells us that tells us that it came from Hong Kong. Also, you can see here that this probably came in a set of pirates that was glued to a piece of paper. They came in sets of, not only did they come in the single boxes that would have been about as big as the figure, a little box like this, little rectangular box. They also came in larger, 3 of them together in a display. 3 in a little, also a paper box with a window display so you could see them in there. And they would be glued down to a piece of paper with the cards in there. Captain Cobham. We didn't really read anything about the captain. Captain Cobham and his wife Maria made up a devilish twosome. Although Cobham was basically kind-hearted, Maria was a fiend. Cobham began to sink ships with their crews still alive. Maria stabbed defenseless prisoners and threw sailors overboard. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why are we skipping any of these cards? They retired to France, but piracy was in their blood. That's this guy and his wife. They attacked a small ship and began killing again. Again they quit, but several weeks later Maria died of poisoning. Was it suicide or her husband? This is something else. I think in a lot of cases, like, just like comic books, parents are buying these toys for kids and not even knowing what ghoulish, macabre stuff is written on the little pieces of paper that come with the toys. Is this funny? Are those all? No, we have more cards. All right. S. Jackson. This is a guy operating a cannon, and he's wounded. His arm is blown off. So I feel like I have this figure somewhere else. I have this same figure elsewhere, and he's complete, or he's close to complete. I think I repaired him. But this is a version of this figure that hasn't been repaired, and he appears to have his arm blown off. I kind of think he looks good like this. His name is S. Jackson. He looks to be holding up two fingers, or a finger. Let's see if it looks like it's broken off. It is. He has two fingers. Look, he had two fingers. They're broken off. That's interesting. So this arm is broken off, and it looks like maybe somebody glued it back on, but I never got the arm. He didn't come with an arm. Look at this old glue. Look at that old glue. Look at how old this is, you guys. This is really old. So look at this really cool glossy. So you can see that it's white plastic, and they've got a glossy paint over the top of it. He's wounded. He's holding up two fingers. It looks like he's been shot in the head twice, and his arm's blown off. Samuel Jackson. Samuel Ramrod Jackson hailed from North Kakalaki. He joined the artillery just as his father wanted him to. He believed very strongly in the right of the South to secede from the Union, but when the war was over, he saw the need for union. He distinguished himself on the field of battle at Gettysburg. He was wounded in the head. Two brothers fought with Pickett, and both lost their lives. Wait, Pickett? I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not a huge Civil War guy. This is our last card here. It's a pirate named Crippled Jack. This is not a politically correct pirate. This is a guy that needs to be repaired. He's in good shape, but he's missing his saber that appears to have been broken off. Let's look at it. It's got a peg leg that's missing too. Peg leg is snapped off. Part of the base is snapped off. He still has his crutch. He's got the handle to the sword. I could fix both these things. I could fix this, and I could fix the sword and make new ones, and it'll look just fine. I do it all the time. I've repaired lots of them and made them look really good, sometimes even better than they used to look, like flip marbles. But this guy is Crippled Jack. Crippled Jack was shot in the leg when a ship he was working on was pirated. He thought women would no longer love him unless he was rich, so he became a pirate. But he was always courteous to his prisoners and attended church on Sunday when not at sea. He was a successful pirate. He was a successful pirate in the area around the Bahamas. He buried his treasure on an island and make a map. Oh, that's the first mistake we found. But lost the map and never found the treasure again. In despair, he killed himself. So that's the first editorial mistake that we've come across. That should be "and made a map," not "make a map." Okay. I still believe these were written in the United States. I don't think that this mistake has anything to do with these figures being produced in Hong Kong. I only think that the figures themselves were produced in Hong Kong. I believe the boxes and the cards were produced elsewhere, and maybe that it was. I'm not sure how it was done, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay, Cripple Jack. It's a sad story. A lot of these are sad, sad stories. That's the last of our carded figures. We're at 25 minutes. You want to just look at some of the other stuff that's in the box? Some of them have their names in them. Let's look. Here's another pirate. This is cool that we pulled this out, because this is clearly a figure from Germany or Denmark or Holland. Germany or Holland. His name is Steve. I don't have the card, but I have his name written on a little slip of paper. His name is Steve Bonnet. And he's a pirate. I don't have the card, but I have the figure for old Steve Bonnet here, and you can really see the difference. Remember how I said this is a really good example? So this is a very nice figure. This figure's in beautiful condition for its age. Also, like 1958, 1960, 1962. That's production years for this stuff. Didn't last long. That's kind of it. There wasn't much to it. There's a couple TV commercials. There was a couple advertisements in some comic books, I think, but it wasn't around for too long. The Marx Warriors of the World. But this came from Holland or Germany. I forget where. But the reason you can really tell is the paint applications. First of all, it's beautifully done, just like the ones in Hong Kong are. But look, Hong Kong, super glossy and shiny. Germany or Holland, dull, flat. Different. Huh. Different, but good. Still good. I still like it. I think it's good. I don't know what this guy's doing in here. This guy is a is a Star Wars Battle for Endor figure. And here's some sort of a Easter Island head that I made out of clay at my old work. It's pretty amazing. This is about 25 years old. I just made it one day and just kept it. Oh, look at this little dog. This was a cereal premium from the 1970s, the early 1970s. I forget what these were called. They had lots of little dogs that were in different outfits doing different jobs. And this little dog is like a royal guard at Buckingham Palace. Get it? He's a Buckingham Palace guard. I think so. These are some old figures that I used to use in my videos. Before I used to show myself on video and you guys saw my face, I used to use this figure a lot. When I would be talking, I would hold this figure up or do a close-up on him, especially when I used to do reviews on cars. This guy looks great standing next to a large die-cast car, like those ones we were looking at the other day that I boxed up. This is a Marx dollhouse figure from the 1950s. On the bottom it just says father. It's a very rare and unusual figure to find in this condition, obvious reasons, right? Look at his pipe. Can you believe that? Imagine how many of these are left in the world that still have that pipe like that. And then here's this guy's, just by chance and circumstance, became the logo he became my avatar. Sort of the representation of the channel for the most part, most of the time. This is Blabber Mouse, a Hanna-Barbera character from a cartoon called Snooper and Blabber. And he's a mouse detective, a little mouse that talks a lot. He was one of the first vintage toys that I picked up, and he just came mixed in with some other stuff, like by accident. Like I didn't purposefully buy Blabber Mouse, just like my name, Meyer Greenblatt. I didn't choose it, it just chose me. And so Blabber Mouse, this little figure, chose me. And when I got him, I was like, wow, look at his fingers are still there. He's in perfect shape. He looks really good for like 50 years old. Look at his tail, still intact. Wow. This was like the first vintage toy that I marveled at and was really happy to get. It was Blabber. And so that's why when you see my avatar, it's almost always Blabber from Snooper and Blabber. I think we're out of time. I don't think there's much more to look at here. I mean, there's lots more to look at, but we're almost out of time completely. So we'll end it. But this is a figure that's really broken up, but it's an example of a Western figure of one of the natives that we looked at yesterday that were in the plastic that they then, this guy's all busted up, like his arm's broken off and there's not a big knife here. Usually he has a knife, but he's got the hair in the back. We looked at this guy yesterday. His name is High Wolf. His name is High Wolf. We looked at him yesterday, but we looked at him in a soft plastic. So this is an example of them turning him into something else, making him into the Indian in the cupboard, right? He had a whole backstory too. We just don't have the card. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed looking at these Marx Warriors of the World figures and laughing at some of their backstories. Hope you have a great day or evening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.